Hello everyone, this video is in our Great Engine Game series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler, and today we are having a look at the reverse of a game I looked at before, which was Berserk against Komodo. This is another game in the Samisch King's Indian, by transposition from a sort of anti-Grunfeld. And it's a wonderful game again, totally crazy. And I ran an awful lot of engine games to help me analyse it, and yeah, they turned out to be crazy as well, with lots of instructive points. So this is really a lovely masterclass on playing against this classical line of the in the Samisch King's Indian. Yeah, I think this was in terms of quality and excitement, I think probably the game pair between Komodo and Berserk was probably the best of the whole TCEC Swiss. And of course it's nice to focus on Komodo Dragon as the clear winner of the TCC Swiss 2. So d4, knight f6, c4, g6, f3, the anti-Grunfeld, and now knight h5, the anti-Grunfeld. Looking for, well, actually something that happened in the next move, e5, when queen h4 is possible. Bishop e3, bishop g7, d5, a good move I think, just to close the centre. Yeah, I mean, this commits black to playing these e5 lines against a Samisch structure, which, well, that's the old classical way of playing it. I mean, you know, Garry Kasparov and Anatoly Karpov fought out games in this structure in the World Championships. But in principle, you know, black, I think black is always a little bit worse there. So d6, knight e2, f5, knight c3, castles, queen d2. And yeah, I mean, I think here you saw a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a difference between one of the top three engines. You know, Komodo is really up there with Stockfish and Leela, and the slightly weaker engine somehow. We saw in its black game, Berserk played f4. Closes the centre, and black doesn't really get, you know, chances for a kingside advance. Indeed, well, Komodo actually attacked on that side, and also the queen side is really white's, and that's where we saw Stockfish playing on, you know, in the test games I ran. So, and what Komodo does is keep the tension, which I think is absolutely right. I mean, it's very risky, but I think this is how black has to play this position. So. Yeah, Berserk took on f5 here, opened up the centre. There was one crazy game I wanted to show you, which was Stockfish against Revenge, playing on my 14 thread machine. So just went castles, knight bd7, h4, f4, bishop f2, knight b6. Slightly unusual development of the knight there, but because this knight on e2 is restricted by the pawn on f4, it's a little bit tough to defend that pawn. So white goes b3 and then a5, and we go. Yeah, I mean, the tactics just went incredible. It really is g4 here. Now Stockfish played g3 in another game, but g4 is pretty cool. a4, g5. A takes b3, g takes f6, b takes a2, in we go, e4, all this stuff, you know, really crazy stuff. I mean, white's a piece up, but yeah, obviously these knights are a little bit awkward, and well, these pawns can be annoying. The knight's coming round d7 to e5 or c5, you know, it's not trivial. But Stockfish managed to win this, of course, in the end. But really, just you know, amazing tactics. I mean, you know, just apart from the you know, the insight that it provides into games, you know, running engine matches like this is just like having you know, the world's best players fighting out and producing masterpieces all the time. So castles, you know, followed by ef was one idea. E takes f5 was played by Berserk, and then bishop g5. Interesting idea there. You know, just getting the bishop ahead of this f4 pawn, and just annoying the you know, the black knight, forcing black to do something about this pin, and looking for ideas like, you know, g4 as well. Queen e8, knight g3. So yeah, here Berserk is going to play bishop d3 and target the f5 pawn. I mean, I like this plan. a little bit less, to be honest, than these pawn storms. Simply because, only playing with pieces, what can happen in those situations is that you sort of run out of juice, really. You only have so many pieces you can put onto the black position, and then afterwards you'd really need a pawn. But yeah, your knight is on g3 now, blocking the involvement of a pawn. So I normally prefer to play for a plan like g4, certainly in these positions, but it's a totally reasonable move. Now, again, had some great engine games here. Interestingly enough, after knight a6, bishop d3, queen g6, Stockfish was looking to castle kingside. It's the only engine to do this. Berserk went queenside, and Revenge was always looking for the queenside as well. In principle, I always think that this is going to be, quite nice for black, really. Pushing forward these pawns and opening up this king, it's a typical idea in the Samisch. So, if that doesn't exist, surely black should be fine. But, it was a very interesting game, and just want to show you one particular idea because made me laugh like anything. So, bishop h6, h4, very bold move, my goodness. Just moving these pawns in front of your king, but you will play f4 eventually, so that bishop will get cemented, entrenched, as I call it in my book, The Silicon Road to Chess Improvement, entrenched on g5. So knight e8, and then this gorgeous move knight g1. From now on, Stockfish just plays beautifully. So the king on h1 has allowed this knight g1, so we want to come around to h3 and actually put a knight on g5. So black takes it. Just to move a pawn onto there, but obviously that's restricting, taking away some dark squares from the king, the knight, the queen, the rook. It's an annoying thing, and also there's something else which you might not notice immediately, but certainly Stockfish does. Rook e3, rook on the third rank, another thing that we noticed in Game Changer and also in the Silicon Road. Engines are very strong with rooks on the third rank. They're always seeing these ideas. Knight g7, knight e2, rook h8, rook h3, takes, rook e7. And I set this as a puzzle on Twitter, though nobody really got back to me on this one. What did Stockfish do in this position? Well, there's one big weak point, and that's the h5 pawn. So how does Stockfish line up on it? We've seen this from AlphaZero games as well. King h2, king g8, rook h1. Look at that one! Oh, beautiful. And then actually how Stockfish lines up, just consolidates everything and then plays bishop d1, and the pawn on h5 is gone. But all started from this maneuver, king h2. And funnily enough, Stockfish also played it in another game, not the same position. The pawn was on h4, but again played this king h2, rook h1, king g1. Beautiful maneuver. It's just what I always find, and I talk about this in the Silicon Road as well, is that often the space around to the right of the white king is often dead space. You've got a king on g1, and somehow nothing comes to h2, h1. And these maneuvers where you bring something behind the king, and suddenly make use of it, can be very, very powerful because it's completely unexpected. A change of direction that you just didn't expect at all. That was what Stockfish was doing. It was looking to castle kingside. But casting queenside is very reasonable, and we got some very exciting games in here. Just scrolling through, there were so many I wanted to show you. Let's have a little look at this one. Yeah, we'll have a look at this one. So after knight a6, bishop b1. Bishop c2 was played by Berserk. Bishop b1, quite very similar. Quite reasonable. We got this one of these amazing games. A4, rook dg1. Knight g2 from Revenge. I use Revenge an awful lot in my in my engine games. I like it very much. I mean, it's a very strong engine, very nice attacking style, and yeah, you know, a little bit weaker than Stockfish, obviously. You know, so you do get the chance of some imbalance, some winning games, you know, and stuff like that. So that's very, very nice. But I like its style an awful lot. It's not open source, so you have to pay money to buy it, but it is so that's a bit of a shame. But it is a very strong engine. So after knight d7, knight a4, e4, it's just amazing, you know, how you know, you sort of have this idea of a typical King's Indian style, you know, in you know, from the great games of the Russian players like you know, Bronstein and all these guys, and Geller and. But, you know, the engines are just playing like this, just, you know, giving material away, full activity. Knight's coming into d3, but we get h5, h6, rook df1, b5, everything, blasting everything open. Now it's Revenge's turn. You know, if it can just get to this g5 square, this king is in big trouble. Bishop e3, takes, queen h5, completely tied up like that. Whoops, piece has gone. King c1, knight a2 check, takes, knight f4, queen e8, queen b4, rook a1, knight d3, a lovely little attack of the queen there just to open up the king a little bit more. And queen g4 check came, but queen g6 blocked. And, well, this turned out to be a draw. You know, it's just incredible. But really, you know, if you just imbibe these games, you know, imbibe this spirit, then you're going to play a fantastic King's Indian game. I mean, to be honest, of the modern players, I would really recommend looking at the games of my English colleague, Gawain Jones, who is a superb King's Indian player. Plays it really, really well. I think definitely, I think one of the strongest, not the strongest King's Indian player at the top level at the moment. So take a look at his games, really, really incredible. So bishop c2, knight b4, bishop b1. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. You know, you've the bishop would be better on c2. Knight b4, you've given black this tempo, but you will get a3 to hit it, and who knows, maybe chase it away. Or maybe not. So a3 played by Berserk has to happen at some stage. You know, you're going to go play this a3 move. Knight d7. Obviously, you know, black is not going to move it. A takes b4. A takes b4. Okay, it's a piece sacrifice, but the rook gets active. King is in the line of danger. So this is you know, an absolutely typical King's Indian decision. No other decision possible. Bishop b3, knight c5, and bishop c5 had to be done because the knight was threatening an unpleasant fork. It's mate even on b3. So takes, f4, and now e4. And yeah, I mean, you can see it hotting up really. I mean, Revenge played an interesting idea here. It didn't want to take the piece. It just wanted to try and bring the rook into well, have the rook defending and then strike with g4. You know, this was also quite nice. But you know, obviously you can see it. You know, black's doing fine here. You know, it's danger against the king is quite a way away, and this is a little bit the, you know, the downside of White's whole plan here. Yeah. You know, you've really abandoned any hopes at all with this whole plan, you know, of attacking the black king side, and now, well, you're going to have to play for material, but it's going to mean that you're under pressure. And c takes d5, takes, knight takes c5, d4, and yeah, I mean, this is a funny position. I mean, was watching this live, you know, and really thought, wow, you know, Komodo could easily win this as black. The funny thing about it is that I think almost all, even all of my games, just one that Stockfish won, you know, ended in draws. So here I was running Koivisto 7.9 against Stockfish on my 94 thread machine. So, you know, powerful stuff. And yeah, all but one of the games ended in a draw. Yeah. it's quite amazing, and in many different ways as well. I mean, in such a position that's so sharp, you'd be thinking there should surely be only one way to play, but actually there seem to be an awful lot of different ways to play. But in principle, they're all ending up balanced. Which one of these days I'm going to think about. I'm going to think about this point a lot and try and get my head around it, because it's from a human perspective, it doesn't make any sense at all. But just goes to show, I think, the richness of the positions. So queen takes b4, king h8. Very quiet moves there, just getting the king out of the way. The nice thing, from black's perspective, is that there's one big thing that black's going to do. It's going to play d3 and most probably get a piece back, and it's going to play some sort of b5 to open up the queen side. And the white task is very tough. I think humanly this would be very tough, but engines, they can just survive on the precipice for forever, really. And that's what Berserk does. So queen h6, hitting the pawn on f4. It's quite nice, actually. And again, maybe something interesting just in terms of general technique for playing these positions. You don't try and put all your advances in straight away. You try and nibble away at extra things, so that when you eventually push d3, you'll have lots of extra advantages. You're not putting everything on the one visible advantage that you've got. So nibbling away at these pawns. d3 played now. Bishop d3 doesn't take it. Queen takes f4. So that's the other stunning thing there. I mean, the pawn has been advanced there to open up the line of this bishop, not really to take this bishop here. And bishop b1, e3, and it's very, very frightening for white. So rook e2 was played, blocking the pawn. And now various ways. Stockfish Koi Vista went queen g4, rook e3, f4, rook e4, queen g5, knight e6, queen b5 with a draw. I mean, we take, then I take the bishop, and then I take this knight, and just an easy draw. I mean, Komodo kept things going, but the balance somehow was never disturbed, even if the position looked amazing. And I think certainly the one thing here is that white, as you can see, is not making any threats at all against the black king. So even though you're a piece down, it's not like there's like black's really got to attack now straight away, or his initiative will be gone. Does have quite a few moves leeway, and you sort of see this here, just bringing the pieces into play. And all we need is to get the queen dangerously coming into this diagonal, and the threats increase again. So white obviously trying to swap off the queens. Rook a2. That's the engine courage, really. Just put a rook on the side, but keep the material. Takes, and knight ac3. And again, just intuitively you're thinking, well, surely Komodo must be breaking through here. But white is actually still reasonably solid. And queen h3, queen b6, queen h4. You don't want to take this pawn because something like queen e3, for example, I'd have bishop h6. So rook a2 played again, and then the position starts to resolve itself a little bit more here. Black, white has managed to get rid of some material. Obviously got a material advantage, knight, bishop and pawn for a rook, but obviously the open files, the weak king, the long diagonal. It's pretty clear that in a practical game, again, I'd take black 100% of the time and probably win it an awful lot of the time. Obviously Berserk puts up a great resistance here, and here Komodo decided that there was no more gain to be made, so it just went for the exchange of pieces. And this is you're a pawn down here, but it's just impossible for white with that weak king to do very much. And these are the things that engines judge very well. Looks a little bit open, removing your bishop from the a1 h8 diagonal, but there's you've always got queen e8. You can go rook f8 check, queen d4. You've got queen g7. Rook e8, bishop f8 here. Rook f8 would also have been very good, and takes, and rook b8, rook f7, and the draw was agreed soon. A real humdinger of a game, this one. And I think just in general, I think you saw Komodo's excellent positional judgment. I'd say, again, the top 3 engine judgment in understanding that you need this open centre to play this position. You can't block the centre. I think, I mean, I'm not so happy with this plan to play with the pieces in front of the pawns rather than use the kingside pawns to open up the black king. It's a decent plan, and I mean, we saw some interesting ideas, from Stockfish with just casting on the king side rather than the queen side. Again, once you castle on the queen side, got some absolutely crazy lines there and some crazy games. Black's got defensive resources. I mean, once you play moves like e4, you get a lot pointing towards the white king, but obviously very dangerous for black as well. I mean, the way the game went, you really felt that it was Komodo bossing it around, really, and Berserk did excellently to hold, but this is really felt like black striving to make the most of its activity and really succeeding, and white barely managing to hold on. So very impressive attacking display from Komodo, but very impressive defensive display from Berserk. I mean, certainly I like this move, rook a2. You're just holding everything and saying you can't come in, even though there seem to be so many ways that it should be possible. So there we are. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you liked it, why not give a like or subscribe to the channel, or even take a look at my new book, The Silicon Road to Chess Improvement, which has got masses of wonderful games like this, described in the way I do in the videos. So if you like these videos, then you might well like my book, I think. Otherwise, thanks very much for watching, and hopefully see you at the next video.